Live.
Well, good evening. I'm so happy that you decided to join us on this chilly afternoon in Jacksonville, Florida. We are certainly live streaming this afternoon, and we just want to thank God for a tremendous, prosperous day. We were able to trade this morning, make a few dollars, and then we were able to talk about some deals on the street today, and we were able to successfully close those deals. So we're just happy and excited about what God is doing in our midst. We want to share some of that. We want to share that anointing even this afternoon as we are with some very successful individuals that are on the show with us today. We have Tasha M. Dyer, we have Gerald Rogers, and we have Dr. Craig Bythewood. We want to give them an opportunity just to say hello this afternoon as before we begin our show and talk about our topic.
Hello, and welcome to Hidden in Plain Sight broadcast. So I want to thank all the listeners at the newrejoice904.com. I definitely want to make sure I thank you all in our social media world. Facebook, how are you doing? Interact with us today. It is definitely streaming live from my page, Tasha Monique Dyer. So make sure that you just share, because we have some really powerful information for you all today. And then also, I definitely want to thank my co-hosts that are here with us. Thanks, Bishop, Mr. Rogers, Dr. Bythewood. So I just want to say hello to everyone. And once again, for all of you all that actually ordered our book, Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight, thank you. And you can, if you didn't, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Go catch your copy. So I just want to say welcome this evening.
Mr. Rogers, how are you?
Great afternoon to our listening audience, the Rejoice904.com family, our Facebook friends. We are absolutely excited once again as we are in this season of gifting. So we have some tremendous treats for you this evening. Excited to be here once again. I want to definitely give a big shout out to our host himself, Bishop Harold Ronison, the elder statesman, the business savants, Dr. Craig Bythewood, the finance doctor himself, the trade whisperer, Ms. Tasha M. Dyer. And ladies and gentlemen, you're our most important piece of this puzzle. So we want to plug you in so that you can now have an opportunity to digest this information so that you can learn how to be your own bank and be a part of this movement.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. This is Dr. Craig Bythewood, aka the Finance Doctor, and it is an absolute pleasure to be able to greet our radio audience. So on behalf of this outstanding mastermind team and everything that we do in the Be Your Own Bank movement, I am excited to be a part of this radio broadcast.
Well, we're just excited. We have a great topic, I think, this afternoon as we echo the words of Jesus. You know, he in Luke 14, he asked a question about what man would set out to build a structure and not first sit down and count the costs to see whether or not he possesses those things that are necessary to complete the project, lest those around him would speak ill of him and say he started out and he didn't have what it took to complete the project. And so from that, we want to just talk about the cost of success. To be successful is going to cost us something. And perhaps I wonder if some folk really think about that when we say we want to be successful in one area or the other. I think sometimes we're like many folk who, even this week or this month, will go to the pet store and they're in love with the idea of being an owner of a dog. They saw other people walking their dogs, and the dogs, it looks, I guess, kind of sexy or whatever. And you see people walking with the dogs. A great conversation piece. When I see a lady coming down the street and she's nice looking lady, I would, say, oh, that's a nice dog, and pet her dog. And all the time I'm trying to check her out. But oops, did I say that? And then so you know, that's an old player's move. And you may not do that, Mr. Rogers, but I mean, it's an opportunity. And so people are in love with the idea of owning a dog. And say January, the rescues are full because people had those dogs about 2 weeks and they took them back because they didn't recognize that a dog wakes up in the middle of the night and want to go outside. And when they get the urge, they gotta go. You don't want them to do it on your carpet. You don't want to do it on your floor. So you got to get up out of your bed, no matter how cold it is, or whether it's raining or what's going on. The dog wants to go outside. You can't just turn the dog loose and let him fly out the door. And so you have to take the dog out and walk. But people haven't thought about it. The kids say, I want a dog. I want a fish. And they think about the fish is in a tank, and somebody's got to clean the fish tank. And I discovered that a goldfish is the dirtiest fish in the world. And so there's just so many things that go along with this idea of being successful. And we want to talk today about some things that perhaps people don't think about right off the top of their head. They kind of discover that, hey, this thing is going to cost me more than I really intended or I thought about. And so being successful in business, counting the cost. Why is that important?
Bishop, I'm gonna first start with laughing because I guess that's something with animals or what have you, the analogy, that's something I never thought about. I'm actually allergic to them. So that's definitely not my journey, not my story, not my path. So, definitely something I cannot participate in, but understanding success and diving into that, that's definitely something that, we do have to count the cost. One thing that's important for us to realize is that we have to, if you make a decision not to, you're still making a decision. I mean, I literally had a conversation with someone, and as we embark upon this holiday season, talking about today, actually, about their father and understanding that they've reached their retirement age. And so they always talk about what they should do, what we need to do, what should happen. But the reality is when he reached that retirement age, that hindsight will catch you. I shoulda, hindsight is 2020. That hindsight, that 2020 vision that we always have when we're looking in the past. I should have done this, I should have done that. And so if you don't make a decision, yes, it is going to cost. Yes, there is a cost to success. There is a sacrifice that you must be willing to make for yourself, because it is still a decision that you're making when you decide not to. So you don't realize it until you reach that time where you're like, you know what? This is what I should have done. This is what should have happened. This is what should have transpired. And who right now is delivering our UPS packages, getting those extra jobs? See, retirement is a financial status and not an age. And so you see many individuals out there looking for a second job and looking for just that extra income, or they're comfortable but they can't do anything. They're comfortable eating every day, and that's about it. They can't live the life that they desire. So you've worked your entire life to build someone else's quote unquote success and did nothing for you. And so we're interactive. So I definitely want to, I see some of our, see some individuals on here. So I just want to say hello. We do see you. We see you and we see your comments. So make sure you keep dropping it in on the Facebook timeline. And we will definitely, if you have questions and everything else, we will definitely get those answered.
Yes. Mr. Rogers, what about this thing called success? What do we need to do?
I think, even when we're talking about the cost of success, I'm kind of in the same thought process as the trade whisper just stated. I like to think about it of what is costing us is the inaction of making a decision. And as we become paralyzed with not exposing ourselves to information, not being coached and mentored, there's an element that has it reverbs throughout the entire existence of our time. And so when we look at cost, we're always looking about what we are dispersing versus what we're gaining. And I want to kind of help shift the narrative of when we think about the word cost. And that's very important at this season, because not pursuing success has cost us a lot of lives in our nuclear neighborhoods, and our families, and our places of fellowship, because there's just been that gap that has not been filled, because we have not counted the cost of what inaction brings to us versus taking the action. So that's kind of where I am, and why what we're doing is so important. So for our listeners, we need you to share this information to your Facebook page, your Instagram, all your social media platforms. And hey, we want you to, also tap in and ask us some questions so we can bring clarity to your thought process. Because at this point, our inability to understand and be our own funding source and be the access point for capital has cost us the onslaught of drugs being prevalent in our communities, massive incarceration rate, physical challenges because of lack of lack of physical well-being, grocery stores, food deserts. So there is a cost that will be disseminated if we do not address this economic concern from that perspective.
So I am extremely excited to address this topic, because the more I was able to really resonate with the beauty of the question and the depth of the comments by my colleagues, I thought about something. Ms. Dyer said, well, I don't know if I can really identify with that because I don't do pets. But if you think about it, the beauty of Bishop Rollinson's analogy is that people don't realize that a pet is really like a child. And Ms. Dyer can resonate, she can associate, because she is one of the best multitasking moms that I've ever been around. The way in which she's able to navigate those phone calls while having to keep a child on a Zoom, an elementary school child, a first grade child, that's the same concept. There's a cost associated with bringing this life into the world, and you're going to have to recognize that. Now, I often talk to audiences about the fact that I feel that as a male, I have a very unique scenario, because I was raised by a single mother, and I'm raising 3 daughters as a single father. And so I say all that to say that I really understand and respect what it's like to be a woman and some of the issues and challenges that they have that we don't. So bringing this full circle, I feel like this is a time when we should take this pet analogy and recognize something. Since March of 2020, the workforce for the female has declined by 47%. So that means there are women who were comfortable making a decision to bring a child into this world, but they had no idea that these small children were going to be on a Zoom all day. So it has changed the game for them. So the relevance of this conversation, the relevance of this vehicle, the relevance of the fact that a single mother has breathed a strategy into us that can make it easy, where you can be at the Zoom with your child and still be able to make a living for yourself and your children, is a beautiful, wonderful thing. So I say all that to say this. When we think about the cost associated with what is going on in our lives, especially for female BYOBers, we have to recognize just how valuable this vehicle is. No one listening to me right now has the right, has the option to not benevolently share this information, because we're talking about over 50% of the workforce that needs this information, not desiring of it, not wanting it, but needs it. So Bishop Robinson, I really appreciate your question. I really appreciate your analogy, because if we go even deeper, when we do something like this, what do? How do we describe it? We say, this is our baby. This business is my baby. Because we recognize that we're going through a birth and we have to treat it as such. So yes, there's a cost, but the value, the beauty, the abundance, the wealth, what's on the other side of this is so important. All it takes is one parent under the sound of my voice that has gone through one frustration with one child, but then at that banquet, but then at that program where they give you a shout out and those tears start rolling out, then we recognize the power of this statement. And that is, yes, there is a cost, Bishop Robinson, but what's on the other side of this is so powerful, and it has the ability to be able to change generations. And that is why we at the Be Your Own Bank movement are so excited about what we're doing and what we are bringing to the table.
Well, let me jump in real quick, Dr. B, because you're going to get me started on Women Teach Forex. You're going to get me started on a movement that was created for women. Now, I'm going to still tell you I can't relate to the dog because I just don't understand it. But I'm definitely going to come back to Women Teach Forex, because that is why that is a part of Be Your Own Bank. Because of that. And that is why it's so important for us to make sure that women are uplifted, make sure that women are taken care of, make sure that women have a space and a safe space where they can actually pour into each other. Because you just said 47%. And yes, women is one of the most hard-hit communities that, just one of the most hard-hit communities since COVID. But yet we were already at 40% of breadwinners, and equal pay is something that we would have never achieved in our lifetime. So think about that for a minute. If we are the breadwinners, we are, 40% of breadwinners, but we are, you're talking about pillars, you're talking about the strength that holds it together in our communities, a backbone, a support system, and everything. Women have to have a space where they feel safe as well, where they understand. And the teachings in that, I'm gonna tell you what it stands for. It stands for the transformation of your mindset. So Women Teach Forex is about us understanding as women that we can transform our mindsets. You understand that you can be empowered with a skill set. We are appreciated. An appreciated woman will do anything. Appreciation. And then also the commitment. You have to commit to yourself, because we are committed. You just mentioned the Zooms. We're committed to our children. We're committed to our communities. We're committed to our churches. We're committed. But when have you committed to yourself? If you're not whole, you can't give wholeness. So that's so important. And then we want to make sure we're honored, because women are always at each other's throats. We're always in competition, and that has to stop. Let's honor each other and lift each other up. That's what Women Teach Forex is. So before COVID, equal pay will not even happen in our lifetime, statistically proven. And now we've dropped to 47%. You have to create your own value. You're in a position where you do not even have a choice. And one of the comments is that success is compartmentalized. And that's accurate, because if we think that we are going to work hard, if we think that we're going to do something, if we think that we just think about it, the compartmentalization. So we think that this is what we've been taught that we have to do, and that's what we equate to success. And then somebody came along and told you that money isn't necessary for happiness, but try to pay your bills without it. And so, I just want to make that clear and let it be known that Women Teach Forex is a part of Be Your Own Bank for us as women to be lifted up and empowered. And that is so important. And yes, we do have to stop compartmentalizing success, because that is a comment that's definitely in the chat. It's a comment that's on there. And so even still, like I'm, you cannot relate to something. And that's why we're so adamant about sharing, because we compartmentalize things that we can't relate to. So even us talking about pets, or, it is, this is what's so important about it. I can't relate to that. I don't have that experience. I don't have that knowledge base. And so you have, like right now with you all having that conversation, you're exposing me to some information about pets that I would not know because of my allergies. I'm allergic. I can't be around them. So there are things that I would never know about a pet. So my knowledge base is compartmentalized on my experience. And so that's why we must launch forward and share this information, because even you sharing that is eye-opening. So imagine what can be eye-opening about your future and about you stepping out into a whole nother world of wealth.
Bishop, you there? Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Very
sir.
good. Very good. I don't know how that happened. Ms. Dyer, we certainly appreciate women and all the contributions that they make to our community and our society, the world, every day. The world couldn't turn without women. And the moment all the women lead the world, I'm following right behind them, because I really appreciate them. And so all of you. And so when we look back at the context of this passage, we see where Jesus mentions a guy who's all excited. He prepares a great dinner and invites all of his friends and associates, people who felt were on his level. And he discovers that his friends were not as excited about his success as he was. He sent out a servant to invite them to come over and eat the dinner, and they began to make excuses about. One said, I bought some new property. Another one said, well, I just bought some cattle. I need to go check them out. I just got a new wife. I can't leave a house, and they were not as excited. And we'll find that sometimes we have these ideas and things that we want to launch, and we present opportunities to people. We have opportunity meetings with people, and we think we're excited, and we find out that they're not as excited about what we are excited about, and the rejection that comes along with their lack of excitement can frustrate someone who's launching a business, especially that business in some kind of marketing or sales. And so what do we do when we find out that the folk that are closest to us are not as excited about us and about our new idea and our new project, our new venture? What do we say to that person to keep them encouraged?
Why are you doing it? First and foremost, you have to understand why you do anything. Everything that we do in life, we have to do with intention. Everything. So if you're operating out of intention, then you're out of order. So everything that you do in life, you should do with intention. And so if I know why I'm doing something, like for me, you guys just made reference, Dr. B specifically made reference to me being a single parent. The fact that I have a child. Yes, I have 2 children that are grown, 2 children that are doing their things. They are grown, but I have a 6-year-old. And so when I'm out and I've done what I have done career-wise, and so are you connected to why you're doing it? So for me, to have the opportunity to be home with her and not send her out. See, we should be in a position where you take control of life and life doesn't happen to you. So are you in position? Are you doing this with intention? Because the reason why I do anything is so that I can be a mother to my 6-year-old. There are things that I did not experience with my older children. I thank God for my sister, because had it not been for her, she was like 9 times out of 10, my caregiver when I had to go out in the military, things that I had to do. So I say about 80-90% of the time, she was the one that was there. But there were things that she experienced with them. There were things that she got to experience that I didn't. So now that I have the opportunity to do it again, I have the opportunity to be a mother again, I'm not missing a thing. And so because I've positioned myself before COVID, I didn't wait on something to happen. And that's that shift in mindset that we have to have. You don't wait. There is no such thing as a right opportunity. So when this happened, when 2020 happened, I was in position and I don't have to send her out. She wants to be home. She wants to be here. And I don't have to send her out because I'm here. You know, I've created my own environment and my own value. And that's the position we have to be in. So what are you attached to? Are you attached to someone else that can't pay your bills? Are you attached to someone else's opinion that has no direct impact over your household? Are you attached to what you want to accomplish in your life?
Mr. Rogers.
Well, I tell you, when I look at, the type of things that people experience, the vehicle that we all have, some have jobs, some have ideas, concepts, opportunities, no matter what the industry is, in most instances, it's centered around meeting a need. And you have to get to a place where you discover or realize that vehicle allowing you the personal experience that you desire. And when you come to that conclusion and understanding, then at that point, when it's presented, to be able to understand how to accelerate that end result. And it has to also coincide with just unlearning a lot of things that we've been taught. I mean, because why is it that certain demographics, certain neighborhoods have amenities that others desire? Is because someone created a value system, and then you're either going to be controlled by the value system or you're going to control your own value. And when you discover information like we're sharing with individuals, when you discover people who are willing to share information with you to bring you to a place that you desire to be, then that's when you have the opportunity to take. But it's all about having those hard conversations. Truth is truth. Now, my responsibility is to present the truth, and based on your end game, then you're going to take advantage of the information. But here's what I know to be true. For the average person who bought into the ideology of having someone else control your outcomes, i.e. your place of employment, then guess what? They're going to always be able to determine your value, and they're going to be able to determine when or when not they need you, right? Because unfortunately, 34 plus million people have been displaced because of the system that many have bought into. But at the same time, there have been a whole bunch of people, even during the most pandemic experience that many of us have experienced, there's been a bevy of wealth that has been created, and some people have been tremendously unbothered economically. And it's all choice based on your end game and your ultimate desire.
So I would like to add to these great comments this. The question was, what do we say to them when we are frustrated? And I would like to suggest that there is absolutely nothing that we can say to another person based on where they are. But we certainly can say a great deal of things to ourselves. So just like Ms. Dyer talked about the shift in perception, I think the perception starts with remixing our perception of the situation. One of the things that Mr. Rogers said to me about a year ago, which I use on a daily basis, is he said, you have to be benevolent enough to share this information. That perspective changed the game for me, because before that, I was letting people know. I may have even had a little bit of convincing in my energy. But once he made me realize that all I'm doing is doing the right thing by exposing it to people, that changed the game for me. Same message, different energy. So rather than wait until we're frustrated and then say, what do we say to them? I say, we say to ourselves the fact that our job is onefold: to benevolently share this information And then however they choose to respond is on them. That's not being uncaring. That's being in control of our vibration, control of our frequency. And there's an old saying, Bishop, what you resist will persist. So sometimes when we push against their reaction, when we push against their response, when we push against our perception of their non-supportiveness, it allows it to continue. So I would rather instead be okay with the fact that I benevolently shared it. And you know what happens time and time and time again? Those same people that we labeled as unsupportive, those same people that we labeled as frustrating us, those are the ones that come back to us when they are ready. Since y'all want to talk about old sayings, here's another one. You can lead a camel to the water, but you can't make them drink. So why would I be frustrated about them not drinking when my goal is only to let them know that the water is there?
That's so true. And this guy in this passage here, he felt that pain of rejection. And as a result, he became emotional. And he said to his servants, go into the highways, into the byways, and compel the less fortunate, those who are not my friends, to come and participate in this feast. And he said, those friends of mine would not taste one morsel of what this feast is all about. And to me, that, you know, that becomes the narrative of a lot of people's situations where we find that we will be rejected by those who are close to us, and we discover that we're not as close as we thought we were. We're not as in tune with life as we thought. We thought that perhaps we had a similar mindset, and we discover that our mindsets are far as the east is from the west when it comes to economics. And so this guy was told to go and invite those who he had not spent a whole lot of time with. And they came to the dinner. And the dinner was overcrowded because they invited strangers. And we find that sometimes strangers are more receptive than our friends and our family.
You wanna let me dive in real quick, because I see Mr. Rogers is laughing, or I hear him laughing, but the reality is you attract who you are. Let's just break it down to the bare to what it is. You attract who you are. So if I'm in a space where I'm not willing to progress, so I've been blinded, and the information I haven't been willing and wanting to be open, or I'm in that space, you are going to attract like-minded people. Your circle is who you are. And so it's not the fact that when you're looking at your circle and now all of a sudden you've had your aha moment, and all of a sudden you've had that moment where you wake up, the reality is they haven't had their moment yet. They haven't had that moment. So if they haven't had that moment, you cannot feel rejected because you are them. You're just you're in a process where you're being elevated. You're in a space where you're being elevated. And so it's not necessarily that strangers are more receptive. You're drawn to who you are. You attract who you are. So if I have a broke mindset, if I have a less than mindset, just when you look around and you look at groups of people and how they click together, you know, just wherever you are, the people click together based on similarities. You click together based on who you are. So if who I am is broke-minded, if who I am is someone that's not willing to be open for information, then that is who you're going to hang around, because that's a similar mindset. And so when you start evolving, you have to evolve your relationships as well. When you start evolving, you have to start the elevation takes place everywhere. So yes, some people are not going to go with you. Some people are not going to be happy for you. And some people are going to be excited and say, wait, don't leave me. But they have that mindset, it has to be evolved.
Mr. Rogers, you were laughing?
Yeah, I was laughing because, you know, even what Dr. Bythewood said about the camel, you could lead the camel to water, but you can't make him drink. So my concept is, even in whether it's somebody in my friend group or a stranger, I know I'm just looking for thirsty people, right?
Exactly.
So when the water is presented to them, I don't have to tell them to drink, because they've been looking for the same thing that I've been looking for. And I think that's one of the things that I generally focus on, because you know, we talk about vibration. Sometimes you two things are happening simultaneously in all of our groups. We're either drawing people closer to us or we're pushing them further away. And I've grown to the point where expansion takes place because we're always evolving. And so I understand that we're becoming and we're evolving every single day. So what I used to think was rejection was simply the fact that I'm growing, and people do grow at different rates, different times, even from the same nuclear family structure. You know, we could come to a place. I know me growing up, you know, every Sunday, I was one of the youngest first set of the cousins, and you know, we grew up in a house where on Sundays, you know, everyone, you know, came to my grandmother's house, and me being the youngest, I always ended up having to wash the pots. I wasn't wise enough at that time to understand that I need to get in the front of the line and wash the dishes. But as I evolved, I started making differences and changes, because I ate first, right? Washed my plate, and then I was no longer at the last where all the pots was piled up, because I didn't want that experience. I didn't want to have that be my experience anymore. So I got wise. And that's the same thing about being exposed to a different set of information. And that taught me a lesson. Eat first, so I don't have to wash the big pots.
That's one. Dr. Bythewood.
Yes, sir.
You have any comments regarding that?
I absolutely do. So I like that thirsty concept. We are looking for thirsty people. And based on Ms. Dyer's comments, we're going to attract thirsty people if that is where we are. So back to the original question, the original point. If I'm in a situation where I'm frustrated and I feel rejected, I have to understand why. The leadership team of the Be Your Own Bank movement is so aggressive about personal development. Why do they want me to read these books? Why do they want me to read these books multiple times? Why do I have to type my affirmation in? Because if you are in a situation where you're frustrated based on the rejection that you're getting from the individuals in your circle, then you change you. And when you change you, your circle changes. So I love the fact that the word is such a living document, that it starts off telling one story, but as we continue to dive into it, we can just uncover story after story after story. So this is why personal development and raising our own vibration and frequency has to come before our perception of those individuals that are in our circle and the way they respond to what we're doing as a vehicle.
Hey, you know, I'm excited about that because verse 27 says that each individual has to bear his own cross, which to me says, like one of my mentors shared with me a long time ago, he said, nothing will happen in your business unless you are the catalyst that make it happen. You have a business, you're sitting back waiting for stuff just to happen automatically. It's not going to happen. And so we have to bear the burden of making the progress happen toward our success, and not depend on the pats on the backs from our friends and our family. We have to take personal responsibility, as you said, for the success of our own business. How about that, Ms. Dyer?
say we do. I say that going to the topic is talking about counting the cost of success. And whether you're looking for a business or just looking to evolve, we're talking about an industry right now, understanding that we're talking about a skill set. So we're not off. Think about what our parents told us from the time we were children, which was go to school, get good grades, go to college, and get you one of those good jobs. Okay, that's the path. We know it doesn't work. We know for a fact that that's not going to obtain wealth. So you might keep a roof over your head. Some of you all even live a little comfortably, but that's not a wealth creation track. So when we say count the cost, there's an education that has to be there. And I want us to not be so focused on business, but let's focus on the education. Let's focus on the skill set. Because if there is a $6.6 trillion a day industry out there, okay, $6.6 trillion a day that is moving, we need to be focused on how do I participate in that? Because even with COVID, this is growing. It's still growing. So how do you put yourself in position? You see, it's all about understanding currency is always flowing. Currency is always moving. Currency doesn't stop. So there's really no such thing as making more money. If you look at the mindset that's been going on, people are not so ready to jump on starting a business, but they are looking. Because why is it that we're looking to raise minimum wage? Why is it that we're looking to do all of these things that are out there that's actually transpiring? So what's actually hidden in plain sight is the fact that even in the midst, whether you were receiving an unemployment direct deposit check or you were receiving direct deposit because you kept your job, regardless, when that money hit your bank account, the bank was using it. That's what's hidden in plain sight. That's the skill set that you have the opportunity to participate in. So I want to shift just a little bit, and we keep saying business. Let's go to skill set, because the skill set is what's hidden. The skill set for you to be a part of the largest financial market in the world, and i.e. that is why we are the largest economic empowerment movement, because we're helping you understand a skill set to where you can create your value, you can create your wealth, you can obtain the things that you desire in life. And there should absolutely be no rejection. So when we share that and you have that conversation, or someone is willing to accept that, it doesn't matter. When you go apply for a job, you're one of 200, 300 people, and you know it. The odds are in your favor right now. There should really be no rejection from anyone, because when you go apply to your community college or your university, everybody salutes you. They high five you, or you do it and don't tell anybody. So go learn a skill set. Put yourself on the other side of money.
Mr. Rogers.
Wow, I would say that, I'm totally agreement with the skill set aspect. And it's just, once again, taking ownership, personal responsibility on me having my shovel, my pick, and excavating the land in which I come from. And I think one of the things that makes this transition easier is now we're actually providing tools that we can navigate through the landscape, through this, amazing marketplace that we have access to. And I think that's profound, the fact that for all these years, that the institutions have been multiplying the monies that we've allowed them to, because we just didn't know that we were able to participate in this space. And when I say the industries, I'm talking about, our insurance companies, I'm talking about our lending institutions on that gamut. And it's been a multiplicative effect. But now we need to be able to take this funnel of information and funnel it back into our personal households. So the skill set is there. The cost of success is, once again, being able to discard our preconceived ideas of ourselves removing the labels that we've placed on ourselves. And once we shatter those, our own preconceived ideas about ourselves pertaining to wealth, and be in alignment, even from a biblical standpoint, where the word declares that I give you the power to obtain wealth. And then now we just operate in that space, that place, and now be responsible for our own personal manifestation. And in the midst of that, the community becomes whole, our homes become whole, our schools become whole, because now, once again, we have the ability to have impact locally as well as globally.
Yeah, Dr. Bythewood.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you there? Are you there?
Yes.
You just finished talking about responsibility, and Jesus talked about bearing your own cross and being responsible for the what happens in your business. You have to be responsible as far as what happens in your life as you move towards success, whether it's a business or whether it's an education. You have to take responsibility. The individual has to take responsibility for what happens with that. How do you feel about that?
I absolutely agree. And I think that everything we've said up to this point has led us to this. And that is that we've talked about whether it's the stranger or the loved one that is going to respond. But I love the fact that the word of God literally provides the perspective for everything that we need. And the Bible clearly states, talking about this Jesus that you reference, a prophet is never a prophet in their own homeland. So oftentimes it is those that are closest to us that won't see it. Man, that's that dude that used to have to wash the pots at grandma's house. So they just view us a little bit differently in other situations. My mother is one of the most brilliant women that I know. But man, I used to change his diapers. So there's just a certain perspective that they're not going to feel. So I go back to that point about being frustrated, about being rejected, and I contend that the word of God is letting us know that this was his story. That was the story that that gentleman went through, that that biblical character went to. But our story can be different, because I oftentimes tell the story about the couple that was in Phoenix, Arizona, and they wanted to go to San Diego, California, and they got in their RV and put on their navigation system. And the navigation system, when it was working, they were going on that straight line from Phoenix, Arizona to San Diego, California. But when the navigation was not functioning, they were going backwards, going back to where they came from, back to Phoenix. So here's how the analogy works. Phoenix, Arizona, Bishop, is where we are right now. San Diego, California represents our dreams, our desires, everything that we want to accomplish, everything we know we deserve. And the navigation system is our emotions. So if we're feeling positive emotions, love, hope, abundance, we know we're moving toward our desires. But if we feel things like frustration and rejection and guilt and anger, we're moving back toward our goals. So when we look at all of the layers of how the word of God is presenting this to us, and we do our personal development, and we recognize that people close to us are supposed to not see it the way someone else does, then we put ourselves in a position where we're managing our navigation system and recognizing that if we flip the script and change frustration and rejection to acceptance and understanding, suddenly we hit our goals quicker. And every single thing that was in the analogy that I just gave is a part of the way we structure the BYOB movement.
Yes, yes. Now, Jesus said this guy at one point has this, he said, first, he said, who would build a tower and not first sit down and count the cost? And when I read this passage, I think about my own personal plight as a young man in seminary. All I wanted to do was evangelize and preach the gospel. So when I graduated, I was recruited by this mega church. And I spent 20, 25 weeks a year on the road preaching. And I thought I was doing a tremendous thing. Made a lot of money. And then I began to hang out with Bishop Jakes, and Bishop Jakes said, now, currency means many streams. And so you need to have more than one stream of income. So I began to start businesses. And when I wasn't out of the city preaching somewhere, I was doing my local business stuff here in the city. And yeah, I began to make the 7 figures. But at the time I began to make the 7 figures, the person who was right there with me, doing all of that, we drove from Abilene, Texas to Jacksonville, Florida, with a U-Haul trailer behind a Ford Escort. And that person got sick. It was terminally sick. And so when we had all the money, we had all of our bills were paid, all our cars paid, everything's paid for. We couldn't enjoy each other because I assumed that I would have time later on. And so that was the cost. That was part of the cost of success, is losing that time that we would have spent together. And so in my mind, I had to determine what was more valuable with that person, time with that person, time with my children, or the money I had in my hand. And so that's the cost. And so we have to ask ourselves, can we balance life in such a way that it doesn't cost us so much personally and cost us stuff that we can't regain? If you haven't had the 7 figures, then you want to get it. But if you had it, then you understand that it's just money and it's not the individuals or the children or the time that you sacrifice to get that. And so we must, at some point, determine, are we willing to pay the price for the capital we want to gain in our lives?
And that's why, and it's unfortunate that that's the way things played out, but that's exactly why what we do is so important. That's exactly why. And so as I was, I wanted to ask a question, and the question that I was saying to ask, or the question that I was asking is pretty much what is coming up through the chat, where they're asking, or they're saying this information is definitely worth the cost. And what will the sacrifice be? Because that is my question. Because if we do it the traditional route, and you just, laid it out, because that's traditional. That's the traditional way. And you just laid it out. I mean, so plain and clear. But that's not the way that is being done by the banks. That's not the way where the real money is. Where, we're talking about 7 figures, but a bank cannot come to the table less than $1 million. They just can't. And in some cases, it's 5. So when you really think about that, the money that's flowing through there, the money that's coming through there, and you have the opportunity to sit at home, learn a skill set. So what is the cost? What is the trade-off if you don't do it? What is the cost if you're not willing to count the cost for your family? If you're not willing to dedicate the time to yourself for your future, what is the cost? Because the sacrifice, the trade-off, yes, we do cause. Yes, we're educating. Yes, we are here and we're serving. But I'm home. I have my daughter. I can do what I want to do. And so I put in the work, and that's the trade-off. So when you think about it, what is the cost? You can work a traditional 9 to 5 and not put in those hours. And then when you reach that retirement age, you realize you cannot retire. You realize the money you've been putting up is just not there. I cannot tell you how many stories, how many people, how many tears I've seen. That's why I'm here. How many individuals that when you sit down with them and they can't retire, they wish they could retire. All of those things actually transpire, and they find out at retirement age that is just not enough. They find out when they're supposed to live their best life, in their elder years, it's just not enough. And they have to work until they die. So is that worth the cost? So yes, you have to count all the costs. The cost of not and the cost of doing. So it's definitely worth the cost. And so that's just where it's at.
Y'all sound like that old commercial. How many to get to the middle of a Tootsie Roll Pop? A one, a two, a three. The world may never know. But I guess the balance question is that question that, you know, I think that balance is gonna be subject to the individual, because it's that two-edged sword, Bishop. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. And Joy got mounds.
Dr.
And here you go.
Blackwood.
So we gotta, you know, make that decision based on our preference.
Dr. Blackwood, can you help our visionary? He needs help.
I can, but keep in mind, this probably will be my last comment. So I want to say that the story that you told, it brought emotion to every single person that heard you. But I hope that we really recognize the beauty of that story, in that we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to make that choice anymore. When Ms. Dyer talked about what banks do and how they do it, here's another concept about banks. Banking hours. Remember that? Banking hours was something I heard as a child, which made it seem like bankers, they don't show up for work very long. They had the shortest hours in the entire economy. So yes, we want to be our own bank so that we can have a vehicle and an opportunity and an educational process that allows us to make a different choice. I come from an academic environment. So as a professor, I write exams. And the exam answer that students hate the most is the one that to me describes the way we should all be living. All of the above. All of the above. All of the above. No longer do we have to look at our cost as being a sacrifice. Our cost is simply you putting in the time, energy to develop yourself, take advantage of the opportunity, benevolently share, and you can have all the wealth you want along with all of the other variables in life. And that is why this movement is so important.
Amen, Dr. B. So amen. So we're right here at the end. I mean, it's
So
that.
what's the prescription? What's the prescription for our listeners' dilemma?
The prescription is joining us. The prescription is joining us. BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Count the cost for your success and count the cost for your indecision. There's a cost on both sides, but it's time for you to make a decision. It is time for you to become your own bank. It is time for you to take control and create your own value, because freedom is when you have the wealth and the freedom. So it's not just working 2 or 3 jobs. It's not doing all of those things and trying to make it. It's a balance. And that's really what we're talking about. Count the cost so you can create that in your own life. So that's what we're talking about today. I want to thank each and every last one of you for joining us. Of course, go to our website. You'll see our information. Send us a message. Send us a message and we'll get you plugged in tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we can definitely show you and share with you exactly what we do, why we do it, and how we do it, and how we're going to empower you. So BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. That is your prescription. That's what that is. So you can create your own wealth and freedom. And while you're on that site, do not forget to pick up your copy of the book, Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight. Let me put it up here for you. You want to make sure that you get a copy of the book, because this information is too powerful for you to leave behind. It's all about what's been hidden in plain sight. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we love you, we love you, we love you. Tell them you love them. We love you, we love you, we love you.
We love you, we love you, love you.
And we'll see you all next week. So just want to make sure that you all know. So this is going to officially conclude this broadcast. We'll see you next time. Actually, this evening. Make sure you go to the site.
God bless you.